If you travel to the United States, there's a place you must visit at least once. It is none other than Niagara Falls. When I first visited this place, I was truly shocked. This is something that came to my mind. The view before my eyes was truly majestic. With an immense roar and endlessly pouring streams of water, the mist rising behind the streams looked like a huge stage created by nature. Niagara Falls. The amount of water pouring down varies with the seasons, but on average about 280,000 liters per second, totaling approximately 24.1 billion liters a day. Assuming a person drinks this much water per day, it is enough for about 3 million people to drink for a whopping 10 years. It's truly an unbelievable amount of water. As I was watching that scene, suddenly I had this thought. But where does all this water come from? It's not even an ocean. How is this possible? Is this much flow rate sustainable? And another thought is, what would happen if you fell from here? Today, the place we are exploring together is the most famous waterfall in the world, Niagara. When we commonly think of Niagara Falls, we think of the waterfall you see now, but to be precise, Niagara Falls refers not to one waterfall but to a group of waterfalls in the world. These waterfalls are formed along the Niagara River. The largest waterfall, Horseshoe Falls, is located in Ontario, Canada, while the slightly smaller American Falls and the smallest Bridal Veil Falls are located in New York, USA. So what about Niagara Falls? It serves as a massive natural border between the United States and Canada. The history of Niagara Falls goes back about 10,000 years, to the last ice age. During that time, most of the northern part of the American continent was covered by a gigantic glacier about 1.5 kilometers thick. As this glacier slowly melted, gigantic holes were created, and water pooled at those sites, leading to the formation of the current Niagara River. The Great Lakes is called Great Lakes in English. It refers to the 5 Great Lakes located on the border between the United States and Canada. It is made up of Lake Superior, Lake Michigan, Lake Huron, and Lake Ontario. The Great Lakes hold a whopping 20% of the world's freshwater. In fact, it was so large that it looked like a sea with a horizon. Just one of the Great Lakes, Superior, has an area of about 82,100 square kilometers, which is about 82% of the area of South Korea. The overflowing water from these 5 giant lakes naturally started to flow toward the lowest area, and in the process, created the now existing Niagara River by forming its own moistures. The layers are connected step by step like stairs. The water flows down from the top to the bottom. They flow down one after another. And at the end of that flow, Niagara Falls, boasting the highest flow rate in the world today, was formed. In fact, Niagara Falls was not as famous a tourist destination in the past as it is now. Currently, it attracts about 15 million domestic and international tourists each year. But in the past, it was just a place where locals would picnic or visitors from nearby cities would come. This is because Niagara Falls, like other waterfalls, has fluctuating water flow depending on the seasons, weather, and rainfall. After going through the time and effort of coming from afar to see the waterfall, it's disappointing to find only a small stream. To solve this issue, in the mid-20th century, the United States and Canadian governments jointly established a flow control plan for the Niagara River. During the day when tourists flock, they built a system to pass more water to maintain the grandeur of the falls, while at night or during the off-season, the water can be diverted to the power station to generate electricity. The results were beyond expectations. The flow rate is precisely controlled through dams and sluices. Niagara Falls has maintained the grandeur of pouring, refreshing water throughout the 4 seasons. Even after the dam was built, Niagara Falls continues to undergo maintenance. However, the method of maintenance is somewhat surprising. It's about stopping the waterfall. Stop the waterfall? The scale of the Americans truly amazes me every time I see it. But in fact, even in the United States, stopping the waterfall is not an easy task. It requires an enormous cost and thousands of personnel and large-scale equipment. In fact, in 1969, during a massive maintenance operation where one of the world's waterfalls, American Falls, was stopped, there was an accident where a worker fell off the cliff. During the operation, there were several emergencies where workers had to be evacuated due to sudden increases in flow. Then, is it really necessary to go through the trouble of stopping the waterfall at the risk of danger? The reason is simple. The waterfall is constantly eroding the rock and slowly retreating even at this moment. Also, the strong current is eroding the bedrock. if this erosion is left unattended, surrounding hydropower plants, because there is a risk of core infrastructure like bridges and roads collapsing. In serious cases, it could lead to disasters affecting the daily lives of hundreds of thousands. So this maintenance work is essential management for the coexistence of nature and humanity, not just simple repairs. Ultimately, when you put all this together, Niagara Falls is a masterpiece created by nature and human technology. Can be said to be a massive collaboration. So what was found underneath when the water of the falls stopped? What do you usually throw when you see water at a tourist spot? Yes, that's right. Usually people throw coins with a wish. Niagara Falls was no exception. The exposed ground where the water receded was densely covered with hundreds of thousands of coins thrown by visitors from around the world. The amount is so vast that back then, the media joked about collecting it for maintenance. However, there were scenes that could not simply be laughed at. The investigation team also discovered a skeleton remaining at the site. However, during this time, there were several incidents where the flow rate suddenly increased during work, causing evacuations. The biggest mystery was that there were only bones. This is because many people have jumped off Niagara Falls throughout history. Of course, there are accidental deaths, but the biggest reason is likely people's desire to give up on life. In fact, about 40 people lose their lives at Niagara Falls each year. Most of them are swept away by the fast current and found downstream of the river, or in many cases, bodies are never even recovered. Another reason is, also, interest and fame. There are always people like that, people who will do anything to get attention. And the first public figure to survive after going over Niagara Falls was none other than a woman named Annie Edson Taylor. In 1921, on her 63rd birthday, she made a bold challenge by curling herself up inside an oak barrel she made herself and floating over Niagara Falls. At that time, they dreamed of great fame and wealth with media promotions, but in reality, it was different. People's interest quickly faded. It did not yield significant profits. Nevertheless, challengers continued to emerge. In 1928, Jean Lucier, despite carrying his aunt and himself in a steel barrel over the falls, did not achieve great fame and lived by selling souvenirs near the falls. In the end, a hollow reality awaited after the challenge that risked death. So far, only 16 people who challenged the waterfall have barely survived. Only 8 out of the total survived. Oh, and it is said that the next maintenance project for Niagara Falls will be about 30 years from now. What might be discovered at the bottom back then? There are probably many coins, but more noticeable would be thousands of smartphones. It is reported that an average of 4 smartphones and about 1,460 smartphones fall into the falls each year. So if you plan to visit, please be sure to bring a wrist strap for your smartphone. The sound you hear right now is not an audio issue, but the sound of water falling at Niagara Falls. The noise is so loud that it's hard to talk to the person next to you. Niagara means thundering waters in the native language. That phrase really fits well. Thus, Niagara Falls continues to crash down, making mysterious and grandeur sounds day and night, and the more you see it, the more you want to see it again and again. It's truly an amazing place. At one time, I thought how nice it would be if I could live like that waterfall, like excited travelers setting off on a journey to find a new destination. That's why I didn't want to write in the early morning, but suddenly I feel sentimental. Anyway, Niagara Falls is really a highly recommended travel destination, so if you visit the eastern United States, be sure to set aside time to go. There are many one-day travel packages starting from New York. Well then, let's move on. I will come back with more explorations.